In this video, you will discover 5 steps to stop depending only on your salary and start building a stronger financial life. You will learn how to invest money, create a side income, develop your financial education, buy income-generating assets, and use debt more intelligently. And we will start immediately with the first step. The first step is to invest your money instead of just leaving it idle. Saving money is important, especially to build an emergency fund. The problem is keeping all your capital in an account that offers little or no return and believing it is protected. While the money sits idle, prices keep rising. Food gets more expensive, rent goes up, transportation costs increase, and the same amount buys less and less over time. This is the effect of inflation. Imagine you have saved $10,000. After a year, the number may still appear in your account, but that does not mean your purchasing power remains the same. If prices have risen, those same $10,000 already buy fewer products and services. That is why you need to divide your money into 2 parts. The first part is the emergency fund. This money should be kept in a safe and accessible place because it may be needed in the event of an unexpected expense, loss of income, or serious problem. The second part is the money intended for growth. This amount can be directed toward investments capable of offering returns and, depending on the application, helping to outpace inflation over time. You can study options such as bonds and investment funds, always considering the risks, costs, time frame, and your objectives. This does not mean putting all your money into any investment just because someone promised good results. Investing requires knowledge and care. You need to understand where you are putting your money and for how long you intend to keep it invested. Think of 2 people who manage to set aside $200 per month. The first leaves all the money idle for years. She watches the balance grow, but does not notice that prices are also rising. The second builds an emergency fund and starts investing a portion consistently. She studies, starts small, and allows the returns to be reinvested as well. After some time, the 2 will have taken different paths. The first simply saved money. The second began building wealth. The goal is not to find a miraculous investment. The goal is to build the habit of investing every month. Even if you start with a small amount, the most important thing is to stop leaving all your money without a purpose. One part needs to protect you in the present, while another part should work to strengthen your future. So the first step is this. Maintain your emergency fund, but invest the money designated for the long term with knowledge, responsibility, and consistency. Because simply saving protects a part of what you have, but investing consciously can help your wealth grow. Before we continue, I want to remind you that our financial planning ebook will be available at the link pinned in the comments. This material was prepared to help you better organize your money, set goals, and plan your next financial steps with greater clarity. In it, you will be able to follow a practical direction to understand where you are, where you want to go, and what changes you need to start making. Many people want to improve their lives but remain lost because they have no plan. They earn money, pay bills, and make decisions without knowing whether they are truly moving forward. The ebook can help you put your ideas on paper and turn your goals into more organized actions. So look for the link in the comments and secure yours while the material is still available. Do not leave it for later, because postponing planning also means postponing the results you want to build. Get your ebook and start planning your next financial steps today. The second step is to invest in creating a side income stream. You do not need to quit your job immediately, nor risk everything at once. The goal is to use a part of your free time to build something that can generate money beyond your salary. Many people depend on a single source of income. When the salary is delayed, when a layoff occurs, or when expenses increase, the entire financial life is threatened. That is why creating a side income is a way to increase your security and open new possibilities. You may think you have no time, But observe how many hours are spent daily on social media, watching random content, or following other people's lives. A part of that time could be used to learn and build something of your own. You can start by offering a service online, selling digital products, working as an affiliate, creating content, offering consulting, doing editing, writing texts, or setting up a small online store. The important thing is to choose something that matches your skills and solves a real problem. Imagine a person who works during the day and sets aside 1 hour at night to develop a small service. At first, she studies, practices, and tries to find her first clients. The results may be slow, but she keeps going. After a few months, she starts earning a small amount beyond her salary. Perhaps it is not yet enough to live on, but that money can already pay a bill, increase investments, or help build a reserve. That is how a new income stream begins. Many people give up because they expect to earn a lot in the very first month. But every construction takes time. Before harvesting, you need to plant, test, correct, and improve. You also do not need to start with a perfect idea. You can begin by offering something simple, observing what people need, and improving as you receive feedback. If you know how to edit videos, you can offer that service. If you know how to write, you can produce texts. If you understand sales, you can work with affiliates. If you have knowledge about a subject, you can turn that knowledge into a digital product or coaching service. Your job can continue paying your expenses while you develop this new income stream with greater security. Instead of seeing your salary only as money for consumption, use a part of it to buy tools, study, and fund your small project. The second step is this: stop depending on only one income and start building a second possibility. Start small, use the time you have, and do not wait for everything to be perfect, because a side income that seems small today can become an important source of freedom in the future. The third step is to invest in your financial education. It is not enough to simply earn money. You need to understand how money works, because those who do not learn to manage what they receive may remain stuck even as their income grows. Many people work for years, receive a salary every month, and still cannot build wealth. This happens because they learned how to earn money, but never learned how to protect, organize, and multiply that money. That is why you need to start studying concepts such as assets, liabilities, dividends, cash flow, passive income, and investments. You do not need to learn everything at once. The important thing is to set aside time every day to develop this knowledge. It can be by reading a book, watching a class, following reliable content, or taking notes on what you learn. Even 20 or 30 minutes a day can completely change the way you make financial decisions. Imagine two people who receive the same salary. The first spends everything without planning. The second learns about money, controls spending, and starts buying assets. After a few years, the difference between them can be enormous, even though they started with the same income. Financial education helps you recognize when a purchase is truly necessary, when a debt can become dangerous, and when an investment does not match your goals. It also protects you from get-rich-quick promises. When you understand the basics, it becomes harder to believe someone who promises high returns without risk or guaranteed results in a short time. Robert Kiyosaki teaches that your mind can be one of your greatest assets. The more you learn, the more prepared you are to recognize opportunities and avoid mistakes. That is why you should not look at a book, a course, or a study material merely as an expense. When that knowledge is correctly applied, it can increase your ability to earn, invest, and manage money. But there is one important rule. Knowledge without application produces no results. There is no point in learning about expense control and continuing to buy on impulse. There is no point in studying investments and never getting started. There is no point in understanding assets and continuing to use your entire salary only for consumption. Learn one thing and try to apply it in your life. It can be organizing your budget, studying an investment, reducing a debt, or analyzing your spending more carefully. Each small application strengthens your financial intelligence. The third step is this: make learning about money a part of your routine. Because the more you understand about money, the less you depend on luck, other people's opinions, and decisions made on impulse. Before we continue, I want to remind you of something very important. If you want to learn better and truly advance in your financial life, you need to invest in your knowledge. Earning more money is important, but it is not enough. Without financial education, a higher income can disappear into new purchases, debts, and decisions made on impulse. It is knowledge that helps you organize, protect, and direct what you earn. That is why I want to invite you to become a channel member. As a member, you will have access to content and materials prepared to deepen your learning, follow our studies, and better understand how to apply these principles in your financial life. Investing in knowledge is one of the most important decisions you can make, because what you learn stays with you and can improve all your future choices. So, if you truly want to grow, learn more, and be part of a community focused on financial development, become a channel member. Do not treat knowledge as an expense. Treat it as an investment in the person you want to become and the results you intend to build. Now, let us move on to the next step. The fourth step is to stop depending exclusively on your salary. Your salary can be important, it can bring stability, and it can help you organize your life. The problem begins when it becomes your only source of money. When all income depends on a single job, any change can shake your entire financial life. A layoff, a reduction in hours, a company crisis, or even a health problem can interrupt the flow of money at any moment. That is why your job should be seen as a foundation, not as the final destination. You can use your salary to pay your expenses, build a reserve, invest, learn new skills, and fund projects that may generate income in the future. Financial freedom begins when you stop trading only time for money. In a traditional job, you get paid while you work. If you stop working, the payment normally stops as well. An asset, an investment, or an income system, on the other hand, can continue producing even when you are not present all the time. This does not mean you need to quit your job tomorrow. On the contrary, leaving without planning can increase the pressure and put you in an even more difficult situation. The idea is to build other sources while maintaining the security of your salary. You can use part of your free time to develop a service, create a digital product, invest every month, work with sales, build a content page, or learn something that can increase your income. At first, this new source may generate little. Perhaps it can only pay a small bill. But that already represents progress, because a part of your life has stopped depending exclusively on your salary. Imagine a person who earns $3,000 per month, and all expenses depend on that amount. If she loses her job, the entire structure is threatened. Now imagine that this same person has built an extra income of $500, has investments, and maintains a reserve. She still depends on her salary, but already has more protection and more options. That is how freedom begins, not all at once, but in small steps. First, a side income pays one bill. Later, it can help with investments. Over time, it may grow enough to cover a larger portion of expenses. The mistake many people make is waiting for the extra income to become perfect before getting started. But every source of money starts small. The fourth step is this: use your job to fund your freedom instead of allowing it to be your only security. Keep working, but start building something beyond your salary. Because the more income sources you have, the less vulnerable you become, and the more freedom you gain to decide the direction of your own life. The fifth step is to prioritize income-producing assets and learn the difference between good debt and bad debt. Many people believe they are building wealth simply because they bought a house, a better car, or some valuable item. However, to know whether a purchase truly strengthens your financial life, you need to observe what happens after it enters your life. Does it put money in your pocket, or does it require you to keep putting money into it every month? This question is essential because an item can have value and still generate various expenses. A car, for example, may be necessary for work and make your daily routine easier. However, it also requires fuel, maintenance, insurance, taxes, and in many cases, installment payments over several years. A home of your own can bring stability and security for the family, but it can also generate financing costs, maintenance, taxes, and other expenses. This does not mean that buying a house is necessarily a bad decision. It simply means you need to analyze that purchase correctly and not assume that every acquired item is automatically an income-producing asset. According to the principles taught by Robert Kiyosaki, an asset is something that puts money in your pocket. A rental property, for example, can generate monthly income. An investment can distribute returns. A small business can produce profit. A digital product can continue being sold after it is created. A work tool can increase your productivity and allow you to earn more. What constantly requires money without offering a financial return, on the other hand, functions as a liability within your budget. Many people work for years to buy items that increase their expenses. Afterward, they need to work even harder to sustain what they bought. The salary grows, but the commitments grow as well. The person looks around and realizes they own many things, yet still has no freedom. This is how the so-called rat race strengthens itself. The person wakes up early, works, receives the salary, pays the bills, takes on new installments, and returns to work because they need to pay everything again the following month. When they get a raise, instead of using that difference to buy assets, they increase their standard of living. They trade in the car, buy more expensive clothes, start going to more expensive places, and take on new commitments. Shortly after, the higher salary also stops being enough. The problem is not improving your life. The problem is improving the financial appearance before building a true foundation. You can appear rich and remain completely dependent on the next paycheck. You can have a nice car and no savings. You can live in a larger house and worry about the installments. You can wear expensive clothes and have no investment capable of generating income. True wealth is not only in what you show, it is in what you build and maintain. That is why, before increasing your expenses, seek to increase your assets. Before buying something just to show that you are earning more, use a part of your income to build something that can pay for that comfort in the future. Imagine you want to trade in your car. Instead of immediately taking on a larger installment, you can decide to invest or build an income stream that helps pay for that new expense. When the asset starts generating money, you stop depending solely on your salary to sustain what you want to buy. This way of thinking completely changes your relationship with consumption. You do not need to abandon all your desires. You need to learn to put things in the right order. First, build assets. Then use part of the income produced by those assets to pay for comfort. By doing this, your standard of living begins to grow, supported by a stronger foundation. This fifth step also requires you to understand the difference between good debt and bad debt. Bad debt is typically used to finance consumption. It allows you to buy now something that produces no income and keep paying for months or years. A credit card used without planning, loans for impulse purchases, and financing beyond your capacity can take a significant portion of your salary before it even reaches your account. This debt does not help you grow. It consumes money that could be used to invest, build a reserve, or create a side income. Imagine a person who buys an expensive device in many installments. The device may bring comfort, but it does not generate money. Every month, a part of the salary must be used to pay for that purchase. If several similar decisions are made, the salary starts arriving already fully committed. Good debt, on the other hand, can be used in a planned way to finance an income-producing asset. A person may use credit to acquire equipment that increases their production, invest in a carefully analyzed business, or buy a property whose income helps pay the financing. However, it is very important to understand that no debt becomes good simply because it was used for an investment. It can only be considered strategic when the asset has real potential to generate enough income to cover the expenses, interest, and risks involved. This requires knowledge, planning, and discipline. If you use borrowed money to buy an asset that does not produce the expected result, you will remain responsible for the debt. That is why leverage should not be treated as a shortcut to getting rich quickly. It can amplify results when everything works, but it can also amplify losses when the decision is wrong. That is why you should not use debt to invest in something you do not understand. Do not take on financing just because someone promised the business would be profitable. Do not commit your salary believing that the result is guaranteed. Before using credit, analyze the cash flow. Calculate how much the asset may generate, how much the debt will cost, what additional expenses may arise, and what will happen if the expected income does not materialize. Ask yourself whether you could continue paying the debt during a difficult period. Ask whether you have a reserve. Ask whether you are making the decision based on numbers or merely on excitement. Bad debt typically arises from impulse. Strategically used debt arises from calculations, analysis, and risk management. But for those who are just starting out, the safest path is often to first reduce consumer debt, organize the budget, and build wealth gradually. There is no need to start using large amounts or taking on high risks. You can buy your first assets with a portion of your salary, start investing consistently, and develop your side income without compromising your entire security. The goal of this step is not to make you afraid to buy things or use credit. The goal is to teach you to analyze the effect of each decision on your future. Before buying an item, ask how much it will cost after the purchase. Consider the installments, interest, maintenance, taxes, and the working time required to sustain it. Before buying an asset, ask how much it can generate, what risks it carries, and how long you intend to hold it. This shift in thinking helps you escape the rat race. The way out does not happen only when your income increases. It begins when you prevent your expenses from growing at the same pace, reduce debts that consume your salary, and buy assets that produce income. Imagine two people who receive a raise of $500 per month. The first immediately raises her standard of living and uses the amount to take on a new installment. After a few months, she is once again dependent on her entire salary. The second maintains practically the same standard of living and directs the $500 toward assets, investments, or the building of a small business. After 1 year, the first will have more expenses. The second will have used $6,000 to build wealth. Both received the same opportunity, but gave their money completely different destinations. That is the difference between using income to appear rich and using income to build freedom. Financial freedom does not require you to quit working immediately. It begins when your assets start paying a portion of your expenses. Perhaps the first asset can only pay the internet bill. Later, another can help with the electricity bill. Over time, the returns may cover a larger portion of your budget. Every expense paid by an asset represents a part of your life that no longer depends exclusively on your working hours. That is the true goal, to turn your money into workers that keep producing for you. By bringing together the 5 steps of this video, you begin to build a much stronger financial direction. First, you learn to invest long-term money instead of leaving everything idle and losing purchasing power. Then, you start developing a side income stream without quitting your job prematurely. Next, you invest in financial education to better understand assets, risks, and opportunities. After that, you stop seeing your salary as your only security and begin building other possibilities. Finally, you start prioritizing income-producing assets and learn to use credit responsibly. None of these steps represents a magic formula. You do not need to apply all of them perfectly right away. What you need to do is start changing your decisions. You can choose an amount to invest every month, set aside 1 hour a day to build your side income, study financial education, analyze expenses that can be reduced, and choose one asset to understand better. Small actions, when repeated, can produce great changes. The person who keeps only earning and spending remains in the same cycle. The person who earns, invests, learns, and builds assets begins to create a different path. That is why you should not concentrate all your energy on appearing secure. Build true freedom. A job can change, a company can face difficulties, and the economy can go through difficult times. But when you have knowledge, assets, and more than one source of income, you gain more options, and options represent freedom. Use your salary as a starting point, not as a final destination. Use your free time to learn and build. Use your money to acquire things that can strengthen your future. Reduce debts that take money out of your pocket, and be careful before using credit to take on new risks. If this content helped you, leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who needs to learn how to build a stronger financial life. And write in the comments, "I will build my financial freedom." Make that phrase a commitment to your next decisions, because your life does not change only when you earn more. It begins to change when you learn to give an intelligent destination to everything you earn.